Uh,
Yeah, am I audible?
yeah, you're audible. Your video is not on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Anudeep is my dear friend, my classmate at Vienna VJIT, and
Good evening, sir.
he's currently doing his MTech in JNTU Hyderabad.
Yeah, I remember another. I could
Yes.
see.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good evening, sir.
So he'll be introducing Professor Raghavendra Rao today.
Yeah. Shall we start?
Sure.
Yeah. Hello. Very good evening. I welcome you all for the final lecture in the series of Rabindra Satyagraha Memorial Lectures organized by the Vijayanagar Media Foundation. I take great pleasure in introducing you to the speaker of today's session, Dr. P. Raghavendra Rao Garu. Born in Tenali, Andhra Pradesh in the year 1956, Professor graduated in BSc from Nizam's College, Hyderabad, and then went on to pursue his MSc and MPhil in the field of nuclear physics at Osmania University in the year 1979. He then completed his PhD in the year 1986 in the field of condensed matter. He then took up teaching in the hope of sharing his knowledge acquired over the years and has been successfully guiding 10 plus 2 students and also the students at VNR VJIT for the past 35 years. An epitome of a teacher and a nice human being, the professor's incredible talent in teaching the concepts of physics while also offering a fresh perspective made the subject very interesting even for a BTech student who considers himself to be tech savvy. The professor has been pivotal in inaugurating the Center for Nanoscience and Technology in the campus. Incidentally, his research interests also vary from nanoscience and technology, optics, composite materials to engineering education. He has been instrumental in flagging of many academic and career enhancement programs such as VNR Lab Protocol, Storyboard in Labs, WIT and Will, Career Vision Approach, which we have been witness to and experienced a reorientation in our practical approach. In fact, these approaches made us think out of the box and inspired me and Srikar to start a science club in the college called Kaleidoscope. After his retirement, the professor has shifted from Hyderabad to Sri Kali Vanashram at Nambur in Guntur, exploring the spiritual nuances and expending his free time in guest lectures, where he shares his experiences of implementing various pedagogical techniques of ancient wisdom to further propel technical education. I must say, since the professor has guided numerous students throughout his career, I hope the audience can agree with me that there is no better person to enlighten us on the topic of ancient wisdom in the present context through his teaching experiences. I hope this session brings as much joy as we experienced listening to the professor all these years. And without much ado, and I would like to request the professor to take over. Sir, if you may please.
Thank you, Randeep, for your introduction.
Yes, sir. Thank you. You're welcome, sir.
Right. Good evening, one and all. This is Raghavendra Rao. I am basically a teacher, and I love to be called as a teacher because neither I profess nor I give lectures. I'm interested in teaching, taking the subject to the students. When I was first asked to deliver a talk in this prestigious series, Rabindranath Tagore Satyagraha Memorial Lecture Series, I was wondering what to talk because I was wanting to talk to an audience which I do not know. So what do I talk on? Then after a careful thought and discussion with Mr. Srikar, I came up with this topic, ancient wisdom in present context and my teaching experiences, obviously, because I've been teaching from the last 35 years. So every time I wanted to go to near the students, taking the subject very close to them, I was wondering, I was trying to take the subject to the students. And so every time I go to the students, what is the difficulty the students are facing? Of course, as you all know, I teach physics, and physics is one of the tough subjects, and many students don't like it. They find it very difficult. But how do I take this towards the students? How can I educate them? How can I create an interest in this subject and so that they really learn the subject and apply in their life? every time I go to them, I come up with some idea, and in the spanning of the 35 years, I have experienced many obstacles. So overcoming these obstacles, I have come up with methods where I can go close to the students. In the beginning, I was thinking that, oh, there's a good thing. I have invented a teaching methodology where I can really go to the students. But later on, in my later part of my work in my Vienna Vignana Jyoti Institute of Engineering and Technology, I am more interested in excellence in engineering education. And while working for that project, I have really researched a number of papers. I went through a number of journals and a number of books on education, and in the process, I came across one or two good books on Indian education. That made me to think, go more deep into the Indian education system. And then I wondered, I was so surprised that all my methods, which I thought I invented them, they're already existent in the earlier education system in India. So that made me more curious. That made me more thinking into the Indian education system more and more. Way back when I was in a research scholar in IIT Bombay doing my PhD, I came across a paper published, something it is, I don't remember the exact details of that paper, but I think it math science, some scientist in math science has published a book on that regarding the archives that are available in British Library. In British archives, there was a report written by Lord Macaulay. Lord Macaulay, as everyone knows, he is he was supposed to be a pioneer in Indian education, who implemented the English and the British system of education in India. But if you see his report in 1815, it was written that Lord Macaulay gave a report to the British government saying that the total number of students going to schools in Madras Presidency, in those days, Madras Presidency means the present Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, and part of Kerala. And the total number of students going to schools in Madras Presidency itself is overwhelmingly greater than the total number of students going to schools in entire England. And then he added, so if you really want to rule India, if you really want to overcome the Indian subcontinent, if you want to win over the Indian subcontinent, the only thing that we have to do is we destroy their education system. You destroy their education system and implement our education system, then only we can win over them. And that started the systematic destruction of our Indian education system. And that is where they started the implementing of more and more of the English medium schools, and they have brought in that European type of education to India. What is the system of Indian education previous to that? You know, every village is actually, in those days, we have a carpenter in a village, a goldsmith, a blacksmith. Every profession, we have one person there, and whoever wants to learn, if somebody wants to learn carpentry, he can go to carpenter. If somebody wants to learn goldsmith, he can go to a goldsmith. So there is a self-sustained creation in every village. So education is not a far-reaching job in those days in India. And in fact, from the age-old education system in India, which is a Gurukul system, as all of you, I think all of you know about it. I don't have to really say more about it. But Gurukul system, it has such a profound effect in Indian education. But unfortunately, we have lost that initiative in education, and today we are way behind the Western countries or some of the even Eastern countries like Japan, Korea, etc. in education because of, I see there are three reasons why we are failing to do that. The first one is, of course, centuries of invasion by foreigners who destroyed our education system. We heard of the destruction of the Nalanda, Takshashila, and Nagarjuna universities by the invaders, and later a systematic destruction of our education system by the British. This is one cause where we have a lost link to our education system. Second thing is, of course, the invaders wanted their education system to be implemented because that's how they can govern us. That's how they can, they can make us subservient to them, and they created jobs which are for their needs, So that time in India, in India also people clamor for the Western education. Even after independence, we are still clamoring for the Western education in order to meet with their materialistic needs. I mean, we want to be parallel with the materialistic development with the Western countries, and so we are clamoring for the Western education. I see these are the three difficulties. And
Professor, sorry for the interruption. Could you please lower down your camera? It has gone. Yeah.
is it
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah, that's better. That's better.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course, there were efforts in the last century, but there are many pioneers. One of them, of course, is on whose name we are conducting this series of lectures is Raghavendra Rao, who started Santiniketan and who has actually tried to bridge gap between the our old system and the modern education system. He tried to bridge a gap, and we know all of us heard about the Shantiniketan, how it has been done, how it is done in an open school with mingling with the nature, and of course, but he's concentrated only in arts, fine arts and all, and so on. There are other people like Arvind Ghosh, who started Arvile. I heard about it in Pondicherry, represent Puducherry. He is also a pioneer in education system. In fact, his credibility is so recognized that the first document on education prepared by UNESCO in 1950, around 1949 and 1950, first educational report on the UNESCO prepared was done by Arvind Ghosh. So much of Indian scholars were recognized, individual scholars were recognized, and there are many scholars and many pioneers who started explaining expressing the need for our educational system to be revived, including Mahatma Gandhi and all. But the political leadership, however, failed to take a unified direction of our education system, and everyone, as you know, our education system is trying to copycat the Western system. Most of it is copycat. I mean, if there is an Tata Institute of Fundamental Research is there in Bombay, where people are doing research, world-class research, they said, but they will be happy if they are recognized in Europe and America, but the TIFR, which is a government agency, which is at the cost of the taxpayers of India, but they're not bothered about Indian needs or Indian people, Indian technology. This is one thing that is concerned. Right from when I'm in IIT, I've been thinking about this. Why is that? India is boast of such an excellent teachers. We talk about Chanakya, Kautilya, Arthashastra and all. It is being taught elsewhere in the world. In American universities, many universities adopted it as a course. but no Indian university has taken it up as a course. Why? Why we don't recognize our own scholars? And like that, there are many other people in India who are pioneered in education, but unfortunately, we have failed at, or I would say that our political leadership failed us in taking our education system to the glory of the past. However, so there is these are the two things contrasting. One is I am trying to reach the students, how best I can reach to the students. And at one corner of my mind, there is always this, we are failing to revive our education system. So I try to blend these two things. As I said, every time I find a new method, okay, this method is working. The students are happy to listen to me. The students are very eager to learn this way. And I felt in the beginning, oh, I am the person who have invented this new method and all. But when I go back and research and find out, this is an old method. Once upon a time, now everybody used to laugh grandmother stories, right? Our grandmothers used to tell the stories, keep the children in the bedtime and read out so many stories. They speak about so many stories, and every story ends with a moral, like Panchtantra stories, like stories from Mahabharata, stories from Bhagavata, and so on. So, and today, and the present generation of the either teachers or students in India, they laugh at it. What do you mean? That you heard it as from your grandmother? It's a grandmother stories and all. Few years back, when we have an academic committee meeting, when we are discussing this thing, one of my directors in my college, he told us, in America, that's how they are introducing the concept. If they want to introduce a concept, for example, there is a professor who introduced the concept on material science, and then she weaved a story around the materials. The story goes that one young lady, he wants to catch up a flight, then she was going in a car, then she observed the different materials in the car panels are different materials, the car doors are different materials, seats are different materials, mirror is a different material, tires are different materials, and the electronic instruments inside are different materials. She was wondering, and she was talking one by one, all these materials, this material is like this material like this and all. Then she reaches the airport. In the airport lounge, she sees different types of materials. Of course, I'm not describing all that story, but she explains each and every. She went to a coffee shop. There she saw the tables and the panels and other things on the different materials. And then she enters the aeroplane. She sees a different types of materials. So she introduced to her students about different types of materials, how many different types of materials exist when she's going from home to the aeroplane. There were so different materials are there. So she gave it a beautiful story. It runs into 4 or 5 pages. So my director was telling me, this is now the new way of teaching in America. I just laughed. I was wondering, what is this? This is what our system is. Our grandmothers used to tell the stories. And even our teachers, in those days, in the past, even our teachers tell a story. They want to give an example. The example is given through a beautiful story. They weave a story in such a way that the students listen so aptly to it. Believe me or not, actually, I wanted to tell you a story also, but I'm worried about the time. I don't know whether the time is possible or not. If you give me sufficient time, I would also start a story with explaining about this. Right now, I'm not telling you any stories, but this is our Indian system. Telling stories is our Indian system. Why can't we do it? Do you know how the students listen when we tell the stories? So this is one aspect of my teaching. I have always used in between simple stories or simple examples in such a way that they listen so aptly to it. The examples should be realistic. They should be near to you. Don't give examples. Okay, when I'm talking about the materials of the, I don't talk materials of the American company and all, aeroplanes in America and all. And many students who don't have must have gone into an aeroplane, so they don't know the materials in aeroplanes. So I should have given an examples which are near to them, which they can understand. And my students here, they will speak that most of the time I give examples about food, because food is very near to us. You remember, Srikar, I used to tell you about nanoscience and all, about the example that I have given
Bonda, Bonda
you.
and Sprite
Why
bottle.
bonda is not properly cooked, and why the that punugu is cooked properly, why bundi is so crisp and all. So this is the idea of the nanoscience. So this telling of these examples, I learned from my, I say that I am very proud and feel privileged that I'm born in India and have imbibed that Indianness in me in education. Actually, somebody asked me, are you a teacher by chance or by choice? To tell you frankly, I wanted to become a teacher when I'm in my 9th class. Can you believe that? I want to do my PhD. I decided I want to do my PhD. In fact, I wrote on my biology book, Dr. Raghavendra in my 9th class. Then my Hindi teacher called me and said, no, you should not write like that. Unless you get a degree, you should not write. She said, then I said, I wanted to do my PhD, madam. That's why I have written like this. Okay, it's very nice, but don't write it until you get it. And after I got my PhD, I went to that my Hindi teacher and said, now I am proud I can write doctor because I have got doctorate from IIT. She cried literally. That is the teacher and student relation. I must tell you, I am very fortunate. Though in my generation, I don't know how many people, but I am very fortunate that I have come through a very efficient hands of teachers. My teachers, all my teachers are so good. That's the reason why I like teaching and probably. There wasn't a very contradicting situation. These days, every parent wants a good teacher for his ward. For his child, he wants a good teacher. But no parent wants his ward to become a teacher. This is because we have so much of undermining of our education system. A teacher is the, if you don't get another job, you join teacher. That is the situation presently. I mean, it is a highly underpaid job, and everybody looks down on that. If the students don't come to the college regularly, the parents blame the teachers. You are not able to attract them. If the student doesn't get good marks, the administration tells, what is this? Why are you not concentrating that student? We are paying you so much of amount, why you are not bringing them good marks? And the student fails, the management says, why the pass percentage in your class is so low? You are not a good teacher. Your increments are cut. I mean, everybody blames the teacher, but they don't bother about the education system. The present teacher, he doesn't have any autonomy in examining his student. You only teach and go. Examination is done by somebody else. Correction is done by somebody else. Evaluation is done by somebody else. So, I mean, there is a haphazard way of education system in India presently. And if I talk my experiences in this regard, it takes hours and hours. And I'm not going into all those things. What I want to concentrate is, I told the people, I have become a teacher by choice, not by chance. I like teaching. I have a passion for teaching, and I love physics, of course. So I mingle these two, and I am doing my job. I have imbibed what is the ancient wisdom. Don't take this as in completely a spiritual sloka, but it has such a profound meaning in day-to-day life. All of you know about it. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Here, Guru is a teacher and Guru is Brahma. Who is Brahma? Brahma is creator. So, a teacher who creates interest in the subject becomes a Brahma. A teacher who sustains that interest, creating interest is sometimes easy, but sustaining that interest throughout the period, that is, a teacher becomes a Vishnu. And making the student almost equal to yourself is what is Shiva. Shiva is a Layakarta. He takes everybody into himself. So in this sloka, I follow tooth and nail in my class. I try to create interest. I try to sustain the interest. And I try to make the student, in fact, I would be allowed to see my students much better than as the students in front of me. They are doing so well. And there are 6 students through my career, after completing their BTech, they are doing PhDs in physics. Okay, so this is another one I adopted from the ancient wisdom. And also, in every class, I start 3 or 4 minutes meditation. Why? Why this? There are 2 reasons why I do this. One is, of course, if it was the first class in the day, then the students come running from their places and some people come little later, 5 minutes late like that, and then settle down. So before settling down, there is a talking, right? Today's what are the classes today? What are these things? What happened in the bus? What happened in their colony and all? They keep talking and all. So there's a sort of commotion in the class. So I want to bring silence into the class. Instead of beating the duster at the table on the table and say, come on, silence, silence, instead of shouting like that, I made them practice 3 minutes or 4 minutes silence. That is called meditation. In the process, I introduced, keep your mind calm. You know, it's very difficult to keep your mind calm. All yogis are trying to do that. So, but you can practice it for 3-4 minutes and then daily. And if you like it, you can continue it later also. But that brings some calmness, some poise in the class in such a way that whatever I deliver after that, after 45 minutes or so, they listen very aptly. This is the reason why I start the meditation 3 to 4. If it is in between the classes, of course, if there was a chemistry class before my class there, and the chemistry lecturer explained so well, the students still carrying that idea still in there, and they're discussing in their mind about chemistry only. So I wanted them to stop that, come back to listen to physics. So that 3 minutes or 4 minutes of gap of the silence they experience. Some people experience beautiful experiences are there. So I started doing the meditation in the 3-4 minutes in the class. This is the reason. Going back to tell what are our ancient education system, what are the prime importance. Now everybody is saying, oh, don't go to that old system, Indian education, cramming. They say that. What do you mean by cramming? Okay, if you cram in an MSc, if you cram in BSc examinations and all, okay, I understand it is wrong. But for a child, for a school-going child, memorizing is not wrong. You know, this child psychology tells that initially when the child is growing up at 3 years, 5 years and so on, up to 10 years, his mind is so fresh, he has no imprints in his mind. So his mind was so clear that he can really retain anything that is kept in his mind. So if you are trying to, the students memorizing them, there is nothing wrong because they are activating their mind space. They must activate it. I'll tell you, whatever I have learned at the age of 5 years from my mother, like for example, Mahamrityunjay Mantra or Hanuman Chalisa and all that I have learned it before 5 years. Till today, I don't forget it. Anytime you wake me up at the midnight also, I can explain it. But whatever I try to learn later, that is after my 20 years, after I become a graduate and all, whatever I try to learn, like Bhagavad Gita and all, and I don't remember much of them unless I practice it every day. But whatever I have learned in childhood, I will never forget it. So that is the time where we have to instill some good ideas and good morals in child's mind. So in memorizing some stories, in memorizing some hymns or all, this is not wrong. It improves their memory power. And reciting aloud is also, if I am talking today like this, it is not because I have learned my pronunciation right in the childhood. This all I developed it later. But our Indian languages are such a way that if you make them learn at the age of 5 years or ask them to the children to recite it, that means memorize it and openly explain it in the next class, and so their language becomes so perfect. They don't become stammering or something like that. It will not happen, all the students. It becomes so clear. And Indian languages, if you learn Indian languages, and all Indian languages have a Sanskrit in their background, and if you learn this, you can speak any language in the world. I know that many foreigners, they find it difficult to learn Indian languages, but we can learn any language. So, regarding our education system, I'm telling you, memorizing and reciting aloud, these are all not bad things. Way back in 1980s also, I think I met one a teacher who is my friend, and she was telling me that the old system of writing, learning the alphabets on a slate and making repeatedly asking the child to write on the same thing, overwrite on the same letter so many times. And this is an old system. This is a very bad system. We have come up with a new, very, very sophisticated methods and all. I asked her, what is that method? She's explaining just one character. She's explaining it, that I'll explain to you. She said, I asked the child to write N. Then I'll tell, write 2 vertical lines. Child, you write 2 vertical lines, draw 2 vertical lines, and join top of the left line to the bottom of the right line. That becomes N. So every child is writing like that. She is saying that every child can write it like that. In the initially I thought it was good. It's a good idea. So I went and tried to implement with some children. I asked them to write, draw 2 vertical lines. You know how do you write N? Draw 2 vertical lines, and you join top of the left to the bottom of the right line. Invariably, every child join the bottom of the left line to the right of the to the top of the right line. I was wondering. Then I thought it over. I said, okay, they are seeing the mirror image. When I'm explaining it, they're seeing a sort of a mirror image and say they're writing like that. Invariably, every child has written that. And after a few weeks, I asked them, do you remember what I said about N and all? They said, no. Now, what is the advantage of writing on the slate? Either mother or a teacher like a mother. Teacher also in olden system, our teachers are like mothers. They hold the child's hand and make them repeat on the slate so many times. Every time writing like N, you write N again. Again, you start from here, N, like that, you write repeatedly, you write it. Do you know? The child is so happy because his hand was held by his mother. And he is so confident what he's writing is right. And he writes it. And every time she says N, she also says N. He knows that his hand is in mother's hand, a loving hand of his mother. And he keeps forgetting about the environment and all. He keeps writing like that. Slowly the mother or the teacher slowly leaves his hand, but he still continues to write, thinking that his mother is still holding his hand. That's how in olden days the alphabets were learned. It's the practice. Once you, in the initial stage of car driving, we will be known to A, B, C is known. The teacher will tell you where is the accelerator, where is the brake, where is the clutch and all. And if you just explain, okay, first you have a accelerator, next you have brakes, next you have clutch. Accelerator and brake, you use your right hand, right leg, and clutch you use your left leg and all. And just explain that and leave him to the car. Can he really drive? When he sees a cycle on the road, he will search for the brake. But if you ask him to practice number of times, if you ask him to practice, then when he sees a cycle on the road, his leg automatically will go to brake even before he thinks that his leg will go. That is the sixth sense, which we do not usually think about it. So this shows that the practice makes perfect. It is the practice which makes one perfect, not how many shortcut methods that you tell them that they make perfect. So these are some of the educational tools from the past that we miss today. We missed love. We missed affection. We missed concern. My father used to tell me in his school days, his headmaster used to call on Sundays also, come to school, because your exams are coming, so you come to school. We'll practice there in the school. And in those days, in 1930s and 1920s, and most of them, they go to the fields and all. So it is very difficult to bring them to the school. He used to go to every house and bring every student to the school. Once they come to the school, he keeps them in the school by buying them a basket full of pakoras. And because of these pakoras, the students stay there and they learn. That's how they learn. The education system is slowly coming to such a state where a teacher is not respected. When a teacher is not respected, you will not learn. Okay, you will know the subject. You may know the subject. Even you will know the subject even through internet also. But if you want to learn the subject, you must learn to respect the teacher. That is one thing we're lacking. In olden days, you go to a teacher, ask him to, you please teach me this skill or teach me that skill and all. He won't immediately agree. He will let you allow to stay with him for some time. During that some time, he observes you, he inspects you, he tests you, your real attitude. You really wanted to learn. Do you have that patience? Do you have that learning attitude? In Indian, we have that Vidya Vinaya Sampanne. Do you have that Vinaya? You will become education, will become fulfilled only if you have that Vinayam. So the teacher will observe all these things and then he will give him, for example, if it is a lorry driver also, when a person approaches him, teach me lorry driving, he says, you join. Okay, you wash the lorry, you check the air in the tires, you clean the glass, you bring me tea, coffee, all these things, all these mundane things or paltry things he used to tell him. Testing his faithfulness, testing his sincerity. And when he satisfied all these things, one day while driving on the highway, he would give him the wheel. This is, I'm talking about this is a out of this thing, but our education system is like that. The teacher tests for the students' sincerity, for the students' faithfulness, for their patience. Every student is not given immediate skills and all. There is a time. You all heard about Dronacharya. He has not given the knowledge of the Brahmastra even to his own son. But he gave it to Arjuna. I mean, that is impartiality is there in the teachers in those days. So our education system today, we do not have respect for teacher. In olden days, you know, a teacher used to sit and all other students sit under some banana tree and all. I mean, I'm talking about the Rishi times and all. But even in the olden days, a teacher used to sit. My teachers used to sit in a chair and there used to be a table in front of them. And if anything we are asked, we have to stand up and answer. Those days are gone. Today, management and the colleges, they are looking at the schools are also, they're looking at the teacher that way. If you keep a chair, the teacher will sit. So don't keep a chair at all. Don't keep a table at all. And for the 1 hour, the teacher has to stand and talk. So the management is, the parents, management and the administration are not respecting the teachers. Students don't respect teacher. Well, don't blame the children. Children are different. You mold them in whatever way, they'll become that. So the failure of education in India lies with I should say that with our generation only, because there is no political will, because there is no unified way of unified effort to make education plausible. So because of these things, our education system is failing us today. We are very proud and we are very proud and to have in such an institutions like Nalanda, Takshashila and Nagarjuna. What happened to those systems and all, we do not know. And what is the actually education purpose? If you see, the educational purpose is the process of arousing the internal and inherent talent of an individual. It is an approach to the holistic personality development of an individual, which leads to the individual personal development of the leads to nation build-up. The purpose of education is to acquire knowledge, not of only facts, but of skills, but of morals, habits, above all, wisdom. Are we having that today? So, I think I'm running out of time also. So, I'll explain the teacher's role. Of course, for proper education, it is the policy holders, it is the political leadership, it is the other stakeholders like the parents, like the institutions and all, they are all responsible. But the prime role lies with the teacher. So I should say one of the unfortunate things presently in India, why we are failing in education is we have a present generation of teachers who have come out of such a situation only. So they have become, most of them become teachers by chance because they have not got any other job, they become teachers. It's not, I'm not belittling any of the teachers. There are excellent teachers are there. Even in IIT, I have seen there are excellent teachers are there. And there are excellent researchers there. And I see them, they seldom a good researcher is a good teacher and a good teacher is a good researcher also. But I have seen both good researchers and good teachers also. I'm not saying that. There are many, many teachers in India, they are good. They have really doing it very well. But their efforts are minimized because they are in a system where they cannot, what do I say, they cannot really bring up the education system to the fore so that they can express their concern. Most of them, they don't express their concern. Okay, chalta kya kar, main kya karu? It's happening like that. So, okay. But I teach to myself. As far as I am concerned, I look at my teachers. There are some good institutions are also, private institutions, individual institutions are also there. I heard about an institution in Bangalore, I heard about it in Rajasthan, in Odisha and all. They're all alternative, in the name of the alternative education, they're trying to bring or bridge a gap between the ancient wisdom and the present situation. They are trying. But we still miss the bus because of the, there is no concrete cooperative effort for the education. There should be a radical change in our education system. We should recognize our own education system, our pioneers in education, and our. I'm not saying that okay, in our Vedas and all there are aeroplane building is there and all. I'm not talking about all those things. I'm not saying that. In fact, I oppose those things also. Okay, so what? If your ancestors don't know how to build an aeroplane and whatever, you don't know. So you have to depend on the Western countries, the technology. So I am not talking about this thing, but I am talking about the system as it is, the education system as it is. I am talking about. So the prime role lies on teacher. So a teacher should be able to create interest. He should be able to sustain that interest, and he should be able to make the student learn the subject so that the teacher and the learned both become one. How is this possible? How do I keep my students interested in the subject? For this, I have seen a 4-layer structure. One is the engaging the student. First, you engage the student. When a student, how a student will be engaged, how you can make them engaged. As I told you, you have to tell them stories. Stories concerning the topic. You can tell the stories concerning the topic, and you show them all the resources that are possible, available. Don't give them the the false resources and all. Give them the resources. So a teacher has to become a resource expert, and teacher has to become a support the students so that the student is involved in learning. First you engage them, then you involve them, and then you make them engrossed in the subject, and finally accomplishment. A small accomplishments makes a successfulness. This is what I have practiced in my teaching career. And when students make faults, I go and pat them and say, you made a mistake, you learn your mistakes. One has to learn from one's mistakes. And this is a very effective method. And I give them the highest importance in their creativity. A student's creativity is much more than a teacher's creativity. You only think you have to use them. You know, one of the assignments I give my students is, you write as many questions as possible in the topic you have learned. Don't copy it from the textbooks. Don't copy it from the book. Whatever you genuinely get. And if you get an answer to that question, and on that answer you have a question again, or write that question also. Write as many questions as possible. And students have come up with such a beautiful questions. And when I said I showed it in my academic committee meeting, the other teachers and the management, they were so surprised. Teachers are more creative than the students. I'm sorry, students are more creative than the students, teachers. They were so happy about it. And another thing is, you always encourage the students, never discourage the students. If the student come late, invite him with a smile. All of you heard about Richard Feynman. Richard Feynman was one of the great teachers in the last century. And most of the students gave him, why he was a good teacher, they said, he always smiles. Even if we come late, he smiles. He invites us. I mean, this is what makes the students very happy. So I try to blend the ancient wisdom in so many ways in my teaching, and some of them I think I don't know whether I have presented it all of them or not because of the time factor. I'm running very fast. So whatever I have done so far, I think I have made it clear that the ancient wisdom simply don't throw away. You learn from those wisdom and make your own methodologies that is suitable to the present technological advantages. In fact, in our institution, we used a new word called presencing. It is presencing. I don't know whether you can see it or not. So these, I think it will be mirror image there, I suppose. Presencing is being present and experiencing. This is a word, a combined word. It's a being present and experiencing. I just read out. It is a process that provides access, both individually and collectively, to one's deepest capacity to sense and shape the future. How do you do it? Based on a synthesis of direct experience, leading edge thinking. Please remember these three words: direct experience, leading edge thinking, and ancient wisdom. It taps into deeper levels of learning for discovering new possibilities every day. So learning every day at your own time. A teacher is a learner for whole life. And as somebody said, if you want to really learn the subject, you teach it. Only when you can teach it and you convince the students about the topic, that means you have learned it. And I go into a class with the motto, the students will know the subject and I learn the subject. Because the students are the first time they are hearing the subject, so they just know it. But it's me who is learning it. And if the student wants to also learn it, they apply it or they teach it. So this is some of my experiences. I do not know whether I have made it clear or not. I think it is time for. Is it time?
Yeah. Yes, Professor. We'll take the questions, reflections from the audience.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll just talk about one thing about
Okay.
this.
Okay. Sure, Professor.
Last one. One thing about the Indian system, Indian education system, because the students who are born in India, though I said you have to respect the teacher and all, and inherently there is a respect for teacher among the students. How? So this was revealed to me by an American professor who came as a Fulbright scholar to my institution, who shared a room with me, office room with me. She said, Raghu, you know, the students here, I asked them many questions. Nobody raised their hand. But I asked them any doubts, then 2 or 3 hands they raised up. Then she said, there is a difference. She asked me, what is the difference? I said, asking question is challenging the teacher. If you ask a question, means you are challenging a teacher. You may not answer that, but you are still challenging the teacher. But you are asking a doubt, you really do not know you are asking it. So inherently they have a respect for the teacher. That's what I observed. So now shall I say any questions or shall I say any doubts? Okay. Any questions, please?
Sir?
Yeah. May I know who is it?
Sir, good morning, sir. Good afternoon. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
So, Venkatramana, sir, your previous colleague.
Oh, Professor Venkatramana. Okay.
Yes, sir. Basically from Guntakal of Andhra Pradesh. Now, have been working in Hyderabad.
Yeah.
In engineering college, CMR engineering college, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. So your experience, sir, somewhat to be what you shared is very somewhat very workful, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Great talk. And at the same time, the way you somewhat shared your experiences regarding the process of teaching, especially by doing somewhat while taking the class. Before you said that you have taken, you asked the students to meditate. So
Yeah.
really, these are all the somewhat to be the what I feel that it once I think that they have been existed there. Why? Because while I was studying in my school, okay, generally a class started with a prayer.
Yeah.
Generally, okay,
Yeah.
a prayer. Now everything is vanished because of this a system called somewhat to be existentialism. Okay,
Yeah.
do you know a term? It
Mm.
is to be somewhat be strongly conveyed by Albert Camus, a French philosopher. A French philosopher. Okay, we want to exist. That's important there. And
Yeah.
at the same time, the what I feel that why especially the sector called teachers are not being somewhat to be their works are somewhat to be recognized and they invisible and they have been not recognized. What I feel in my context is that the frankly telling because of the change of the attitude of parents. Okay, so that means frankly I'm telling sir, with especially even though it's a open platform of a meeting, and why because what I feel that even though okay in my times itself I was being somewhat to be brought up by the elders in a systematic way, but in some context nowadays if any problem will come to me, okay, come to me, their suggestion is you should not ask, you shouldn't question anyone, you shouldn't question this anyone, think about yourself. Okay, those who brought me in a disciplined way, because of them only I learned what is ethics and morals of life, what is discipline and everything. But I am I somewhat to be uh, somewhat may not somewhat can't be learn the way of questioning others, especially regarding something is happened to someone. Okay, some injustice done to someone. Okay, why can't you why can't you okay stretch your hands okay towards them? I somewhat to be I didn't be trained in this aspect because of this okay I feel a lot, and the same attitude is being is going on especially in the present uh, parenting also. Okay, there's just think about they train their students, think about you and think about your job. Okay, you what to be your goal and your aim, and aiming high.
That is what
Okay, you have to go to some US, serve there in our other countries. Your services, your knowledge should be served to the other people. Okay, and at the same time, the most pathetic thing is that, frankly telling that, okay, they are sending their children to the abroad, whereas they have been somewhat to be they are somewhat to be very busy in looking after the pets which are from foreign breeds. Okay, but
Yeah.
I'm telling everything in openly, sir. Sorry for this. But really, sir, Raghavendra sir, I missed your company while we were working together in that college, women's college.
Okay.
You shared me a lot of knowledge to me, particularly about world wars, and at the same time, you have been introduced to me a lot of literature, and at the same time,
Ramanadar,
you
could you
you openly told many things about the especially the cruelty of Hitler, and you recommended me so many movies.
Ram,
And
Ram,
certainly, sir, whatever may be the steps that you suggested me regarding the improvement of teaching, I too, okay, during my tenure as a teacher,
Ramanagaru, sorry to cut you off.
I too wants to somewhat I too wants to follow it, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. This is the gap of the present generation, sir. We are in such a generation that, I mean, the materialistic outlook is only for materialistic. Degrees are only for jobs. I mean, that is the present situation in our education system. Now, this is what I'm asking for the change. Okay, speaker, any other?
Yeah, Mr. Razim, would you like to go next?
Anyone?
Professor You're on mute.
I'm on mute.
Yeah, you're on mute.
Sorry.
1 minute, sir. Srivatsa, sir. Actually, I wanted to quote one of your sentence about Rabindranath Tagore. You said in your talk. I listened to your talk. It was so excellent talk. You said that Rabindranath Tagore said our country will gain freedom. 1 minute, I'll just. My countrymen truly gain India by fighting against the education which teaches them that a country is greater than ideals of humanity. Right?
Yes.
So I thought I wanted to see you in the beginning. I want to ask you permission and then say this sentence. So it is true. It is very much true that we still have not won our independence. We have not won our country back. You agree, sir?
Yes, I actually, that is what I teach students. Srikar is smiling. I say that, the first war of independence was 1857.
Yeah.
The second one was the period before 1947.
Yeah.
Third one is going on now, So the decolonization of the mind is still to happen. It is still a long way in the future, I feel. But it is a battle which has to be undertaken.
Yeah.
I learned a lot listening to you, and I resonated a lot with what you said. I have a very simple question, which may not have a simple answer, however. I would like to know how you approach it. Like you, I have also been a teacher for about 35 years, although you are probably senior to me. But what I have found most frustrating, and like you, I have been a teacher by choice. I could have gone many other places, but I chose to be a teacher because I enjoyed it. And I felt that, if I can make a living doing something which I enjoy, then why shouldn't I do that? The frustrating thing has been that, as you rightly pointed out, we live in a world of mass education in India as well as in the rest of the world. And so much of it is influenced by Macaulay, both in India and in the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Because the English actually have a big role to play in shaping the education systems of the modern world since the Industrial Revolution.
Yes.
So what I call factory schooling or factory education is something which is inaugurated in right earnest by the British after the Industrial Revolution. And like you rightly pointed out, they had more students in Madras Presidency alone than in the whole of Britain. And Professor Dharampal recorded this.
Dharampal, I recall the name. Yes, thank you.
In the research. So the frustrating thing with mass education is, and in Ashoka University, where I teach a few months every year, I have a class of 100 students. I find it very difficult to teach, anything to 100 students, even mathematics probably. Although, I think mathematics is easier than philosophy or, something like what I teach, which is ecological philosophy. So, I find it difficult to give enough time to each student. I find it difficult to teach students when I do not know them very well, because ideally you must know your students well, and that itself takes time.
Sure.
And nowadays one feels always in a rush. You feel like you have to complete the course, you have only 6 weeks and so on. So I find a shortcut through this, and I take a number of teaching assistants. I have usually 6 teaching assistants for 100 students, and we break up the class into 6 smaller groups so that each small group at least has a teaching assistant to go to first. And then if there is a further issue, then I'm there. In the past, I've had difficulty teaching very large classes. How have you negotiated this problem in ideally in a sort of Gurukul kind of context, you would want to live with students, and so that students can see how you live and you can observe students in other modes of life. That is unfortunately forbidden in a four-walled classroom context. If you were sitting under a banyan tree and living in a place together, that would be possible, but that's not something which happens in the modern world. So how do you handle these kinds of questions? How have you done it in the course of your teaching?
We also used to have 60 to 70 students in a class. The first thing is, as you said, the impressing the class initial stages is very difficult. My students here also will say that in the beginning they used to really don't like my classes, but slowly they have come to, because I also changed, knowing the audience slowly as I keep on knowing the more and more about the audience. I also changed the way I go about the teaching. I mean, if I'm teaching the same subject to 3 or 4 sections in a college, and I won't be using the same methodology in each class. First, I will take a little time, maybe 3 or 2 days, understanding the audience. I mean, they're trying to understand the pulse of the students, and then I change my teaching methodologies according to them. And then secondly, if you have a large group, how do we go about this? I mean, we have developed a number of pedagogies. First of all, one of them is, of course, if it is a theory class, we have what is known as wit and will. The WIT stands for WIT. WIT stands for why I teach, why I teach what I'm teaching. Why I teach what I'm teaching. From my perspective, from the teacher's perspective, and will is WIL, why I learn what I learn. This is from the student's perspective. For this, I need to do some homework about my content, and I mean, we have to really bring out so many resources and all, even online resources and books and everything, and then we give beforehand to the students, so that when they come to the class, they come reading those things and come. So there is this is one aspect of methodology that we use. Then we use what is known as POGIL. It's a program-oriented guided inquiry learning, where you divide the entire class into number of sections, number of small groups, and you don't have to have a monitor for each group. For example, in my class of 60 students, we divided into, say, 10 groups, 6 students each. And we divided into just 2 parts, and only 2 people can monitor it. 2 teachers can monitor it. And in each group, in each 6 students, there is we conduct it in such a way that it is a group learning. This POGIL is a group learning method. I think I can share this more than on a personal, if you want me to help you or to demonstrate some of these things, I can talk to you personally also. But we have some methodologies here. Similarly, we have, first of all, you take the students in confidence. You give them, you have to explain them with a storyboard. Especially in the laboratory course, we start with a static presentation called storyboard. All the experiments in the lab, we explain at one poster, and we explain what is the real example of this, what is this, where is that you are going to learn in the future, and for learning this, what are the resources available in the laboratory, what is that the concept that you have mapped with this experiment. All these things in just one poster, we explain them. That is called the storyboard. The same thing, we have also a dynamic presentation called Vienna lab protocol, a lab protocol. I mean, that is a great document that we have prepared in such a way that the student in a semester, he comes about 15 weeks to the lab. That means about 37 hours. 37 hours, what is that he's going to learn? That we have to explain to him with all interesting stories, whatever, so many things that I've just told you. About the laboratory learning in the first session, we explain to them this, so that they come involved and get engaged into the laboratory learning. I mean, there are some methods are there, even if you have in a large class. One of the best method is, of course, peer learning. That means you should be able to group the students in such a way that they learn by themselves. There are always, obviously, out of 100 students, there will be some bright students will be there, and we have to identify them and put them in some groups in such a way that they lead learning process to the other students. I mean, that grouping also, intelligently we have to do that grouping it. And I used to give assignments to different groups in different way. All groups will not get the same sort of assignment also. I have divided the assignments also in different ways to the different groups. I mean, there is some different process. I mean, as you said, it is not a one method solution to the problem what you have raised up. But some of the methods that we have adopted, maybe they give some good results. And if you want them to be explained to you in detail, I'm sure I have my phone number and my mail address are there. So I invite you to freely contact me anytime you like.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Right. Any other question? Any other doubt? Question?
Sir, can I ask you?
Murli Krishna Garu has raised his hand first.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Right.
Sir, I am Murli Krishna, studying BTech 4th year, electrical engineering, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, as you told, the teachers are lifelong learners.
Yes.
Sir, what methods have been used by our ancestors, and what methods you have used for memorizing and maintaining concentration for maintaining peak concentration for a long time, sir?
The sustaining interest will come because once upon a time it is the strongest who is the survival. That is what the Darwin's theory also. But today the term is the one who is adaptive. The one who is adaptive, he survives. He is the one who can survive today in the today's times. Why I'm telling this is, you see, when I was in IIT, I was the one person who the first the first desktop came to IIT, to the physics department, and I was the person who worked on that. And I worked on the DEC 20 system with the Reserve Bank of India, the Air India, very sophisticated computer and all. That is way back in 1980s. So in IIT, I'm one of the, I can say that I used to even counsel the students regarding the computer programming and all. But today, what about I have not kept with the technological developments of the computers. So I have become almost an unpad in computers. And way back, even my children come back and tell me, oh, Daddy, you don't know this, you don't know this, you don't know this. But that is what's happening if you don't keep update. So in the olden education system, or even in the present, if you want to keep yourself engaged in life learning, you have to adapt to the new technologies day in, day out. Whatever they are coming up, you have to keep up with them. Similarly, you have to read books. You know, about the cell phone, I'll tell you, a cell phone, in the olden days, the people used to say that don't bring cell phones to the college. But today, everyone is saying, you look into your cell phone and you click this link and see, you read this, you read that and all. So it has become a cell phone culture because today's generation is a digital generation. You cannot ask them to don't bring cell phones and all. You ask my students what I did. I told them you can bring your cell phones, but don't use them in the class while class is going on. But I tell them there are about 8,000, there are videos on internet. One person can see for 8,000 years. So obviously we can't see all the videos. So a teacher is the one who guides the student what to see, what not to see. Apart from the parents, is a teacher who sees what to see, what not to see. I ask my students, you see TED videos. I have shown them some TED videos. I've shown them some good videos, and they said, you like this? Yes. Okay, there is a TED video. There is this video. This is a technology video. So if I can see, even if from the 8,000 years, you cut out the sex and violence and other unnecessary, the nasty videos and all, if you remove them, even if you think technology and science has 10% of the videos, it takes me 800 years. So I won't be able to see all the videos. But I can make it a small effort as saying that in a class you have 60 students. If everyone makes it a habit to see 1 or 2 videos every day, all of us together can see 120 videos regarding the science and technology. I have encouraged them to see them. And they come up with some of the beautiful videos and they said, sir, have you seen this? Have you seen this link? Have you seen this link? With all these links will go into my, what is I said, wit and will, they will go into that. And these links are available to all the students. So this is how we can keep abreast of the developments in the technology and keep learning the new methods, the methodologies, and the new things. Everything is open these days. So you open your mind, keep your mind open, learn everything. Always learn first. And don't show up. You don't have to show up. I know this, and all. You don't have to show up unless somebody asks you, do you know this? Yes, I know this. Now with Vinayam, you learn all these things. So a teacher, in the olden days, a teacher used to be, for example, he is an integrated teacher. Even though if he's a maths teacher, he knows about the science, he knows about the language, he knows about the grammar, he knows about the social studies and all. But today teachers, even in physics, there are teachers who are specialized in, say, the teacher specialized in solid state, he doesn't know anything about the nuclear physics. He doesn't know anything about the electronics. We are specializing in these things and we are forgetting learning the all. A teacher is the one who learns integratedly. He knows all the things. My students respect me because if they ask me any question, any other thing, I can answer them. So integrated learning is what we have to do. We have to learn it and keep abreast of the developments in technologies, whatever it is. We are not against the modern technologies. That's what I mean. Thinking edge technologies. Thinking edge technologies are modern technology. You are not against them. But we have to mix them with the ancient wisdom, how much we can learn. Is it clear, Mr. Muralikrishna?
Yes, sir.
Any other? Sumati, you wanted to ask something?
Yeah, Sumitra, sir. Sir, good evening, sir. Obviously, undoubtedly, this is one of the best session I had. Sir, actually, these are all things I have implemented all the teaching and learning concepts from you. But nowadays, we are facing one kind of problem. Like, I can't say this is a problem. There is a barrier, sir, in between a teacher and a student. As we are teaching online, we don't know that whether a student is grasping the subject or not. So to avoid this kind of discomfort, how to get the attention from the student, like throughout the entire session they should hook up with the teacher. So can you suggest anything, sir, related to this?
Oh, well, this is a good question, but I myself have not taught regularly on online. So in fact, but I can suggest some methods. We can try on those methods. Of course, one thing is, as I said, that the students should have faith in teachers. Teachers also should have faith in students. First of all, we have to have faith in our students and keep giving them assignments and ask them to explain those assignments online. Like peer learning, you ask the student to explain this concept. You ask the students to explain the concept to the rest of the class. So you bring in a sort of competition among the students. This is this has to be done very calibratedly. You have to do this exercise. You have to bring in a competition among the students. When I started teaching the computer science students, usually the computer science students, they are averse to physics. But sometimes, Samadhana Bheda, what Kautilya uses those 4 methods. Sometimes I even challenge them. You people took computer science because you are very weak in physics. You don't like mathematics. That is the reason why you have taken computers. I challenge them. Then they come up, no, we will also have an expert in physics. We are also know so much of physics, and then they have to come up. They will come up. That's how I have somehow created interest in physics in them also. So in the online teaching, I really, I tell you, I don't have the experience because I have not taught so many times, but we can experiment it. Now you are being one of my students, you can start experimenting, bring in competition among the students to come online and teach their peers, teach their other students in groups, probably in groups or probably in these things. This is one thing. And ask them to submit assignments online. The assignments, as I said, assignments, you ask them, you give to a section of the people assignment, a set of people assignment. You prepare assignment, the questions only. On the concepts you learn, you write the questions. How many questions you know, you write them. You ask to write, come with the questions. And let those questions be posted to the other persons and ask them to come with the answers. So this is a sort of activity that you keep in them, you have a faith in them, and in between you have to keep encouraging them. If somebody has done really well and all, you said, oh, you are doing better than the teachers and all, you are so good. And I mean, we have to keep on, the personality, you know, how to encourage the students and all this. I don't have to tell you know all how to do it and all. But this is one method I think I can suggest. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Very nice suggestion. I'll try to implement in my classes. Thank you so much, sir.
Right.
I already implemented all of the things, sir, have just instructing from the beginning, like how to have that kind of motherhood and all while teaching. These are all things I have implemented. Here I want to stress one point. Whenever my son was unable to focus on his studies, I used to take my son to sir so that he can create interest in the subjects and all, how to read. Sir used to do some magical trick. Sir used to explain some magical maths and all. So he used to get lot of interest from sir. So this is a thing. Whatever the subject and how to teach, how to become a good teacher. These are all things I learned from sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Whatever you did to me, I'll try to do at least 90% from whatever you did to me. I do to my students. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Any other? If I think it's a time, if no other question is, no doubt is there.
Dr. K.S. Rudrambha has raised.
Good evening, sir. This is K.S. Rudramamba.
Rudramamba.
Yes, good evening. Glad to see you here. Sir, actually, you gave that answer to me. I want to recollect the answer which you gave. See, Dr. Sumitra, she asked you one answer about how to create interest and why we don't know how people are listening to us and how to grab the interest in online classes. That is her doubt, I think. Yeah. Actually, during our association at VNR, so you made me to make all that storyboard and all. We completed the storyboard at VNR. So I always remember you while seeing the quote, explore and excite.
Yeah.
I like that quote very much. And you said that we need to create, we need to show some empathy towards students. You said that word to me while going to the section. And I know that that single word made students to attract and it made that students to grab, it made me to grab the interest of the students. And also empathy is very much closely related to the trust that has been developed at students. Yes. So students part. So because of that trust only, people can, they themselves can create interest, and then they themselves can engage, and they can involve in doing the things, and they can engross their knowledge, sir.
Yes.
So all the 4 layers which we have completed there, and during VNR lab protocol, you have explained me about the 4 layers. So
Yes, yes.
because of empathy and trust, empathy develops trust, and trust develops the 4 layers. And these 4 layers are enough for even not only offline classes, for online classes also, sir. That
Yeah.
is the word which was delivered by you only.
Yes. Okay.
At this platform, you might not give the answer to her. So I want to recollect your answer which was given to me actually. So I want to share that one, sir.
Yes, yes. Thank you for that, Rudramamba. Thank you very much for that, bringing it back.
Thank you, sir.
One should have a clear empathy for the students. I mean, the
Yes.
students are not at fault for the education system that we have today, and they are learners. So, so we have to we should have some empathy for them, and we should make them understand the student. I mean, you should have, as I said, should have faith in the students also. Like
Yes.
students have faith in teachers, teachers should also have faith in students.
So if we have faith only, then we can empathize, sir. Otherwise, without faith, we can't empathize. If we empathize, we can get some trust from the students, so they can get engaged and involved in the concept.
Right. Thank
That
you.
is the mantra which we believe. We both of us believe, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other? Okay, Srikar, can
yeah.
we conclude?
Good evening, sir.
Yeah.
This is Dr. Chakravarthala Kiran here.
Oh,
I'm really sorry I couldn't actually connect through because I had a power cut and my phone was switched off, sir. But I just thought I'll just see you, at least wish you, and I'm glad I could see you. I'm really sorry I missed it, and I request the organizers to actually provide the recording so that I can watch it later, sir. But it's a very happy thing for me to see you and be able to interact with you after a long time. I hope all is well.
Thank you, Kiran. How are you?
Thank you, sir.
I think the proceedings will be recorded, and I think it will be put on YouTube. Srikar, I think you can either put on YouTube, no?
Yeah, I'll share them.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, I'll share
Sir,
them.
good evening, sir.
Yeah, Srikar, how are you?
Somebody else is talking.
Sir,
Yes.
good evening, sir.
Kalyan
Sir,
Babu. Yes.
yeah, sir. Good evening, sir. How are you, sir?
Fine.
So very nice meeting you, sir, after a long time.
Yeah.
And thank you for inviting me for this session.
Okay.
Sir, I want some clarification, sir. I want a suggestion from your end that how to train the teachers. I came across a lot of teachers. I'm working as a principal. I worked in the previous school and IFA business school. I worked as a principal and a MBA college principal. The teachers are not coming to the class by preparing the subject.
Yes.
Then how can we train the teachers? Instead of telling them number of times, they're coming to the class. I suggest the teachers, if you want to explain the students 1 hour class, you have to prepare 3 hours class. 3 hours class subject should be in your hand.
Yes, yes.
But teachers are preparing only 45 minutes. And if any student asks any doubt, the teachers are unable to explain the doubt.
Yes, yes.
So in this session, I want to train the teachers. I want to suggest from your answer, please.
One way of bringing the teachers is to motivate them. I mean, the motivation, there are different methods of motivations and all. I mean, we should have continuous motivation. See, teaching is only one profession. As soon as one completes MTech or MSc, they directly go to the teaching without any training. If you do any other industry, the first 2 months they have to undergo training. The only industry is the teaching where you don't have any training at all.
Yes, sir.
So one should have the training. You simply take out the teacher from the class and ask her to go through some training or some motivation classes and all, and then prepare it. I mean, this is a long process. It is motivating a teacher is not a simple process.
Yeah.
Because you can train up the present students because the present students' minds are open. The teachers who come from that generation where the materialistic development is the only point. So they really don't have that much of motivation initially, but with a constant effort, we can bring them. And I mean, human being is averse to learning and all. We can always bring them to learning methodologies, and we can always train them. But it's in a slow process, and I mean, what to do, how to do it, I cannot explain it in just in 5 or 10 minutes like this. But you can keep in contact with me. I can some methods, and I can give you some how to go about training the teachers also.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So, are there any questions? We can end the meet.
So I thank my Vijayanagara Media Foundation for a great effort. I mean, bringing the people all over India into through this series of lectures, and for their efforts and for their planning and all. I really appreciate that, and I'm very, very thankful to them. Shikha.
Thank you so much, Professor. I mean, you're one of the reasons why we have become so proactive. Even from our engineering days, I, Anudeep, and some of my friends, and all the activities that we have done during the engineering years and also after that. So we've been not so much in touch, but thank you so much for being so helpful and trying to do this in a very short notice. Thank you so much. Thank you, Anudeep, for introducing Professor, and thank you all the professors of Vienna VJIT, and especially Anuradha ma'am for sharing this to everyone, the students and faculty. Yeah, thank you so much. And also, Azim sir is not here. Professor Azim from Ashoka, he teaches at Ashoka University. Yeah, he was one of the main reasons for organizing this series of lectures. And I'll share all the recordings and all the lectures and all the resources that we gathered through these lectures to Anuradha ma'am and to Professor. He will share you. He'll pass on. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you all. Thank you one and all. Okay, bye.